Hey everybody, I'm Salina Brilla and this is DIY Live, Huntsville Alabama's YouTube channel dedicated to capturing the underground. I'm here at the fret shop with my good friend Blade Osborn.
Hey everybody.
Yes, from such notorious bands as the Dirty Swagger. Yes, representing all today. And you have a brand new band too. Baby's Got a Knife.
Baby's Got a Knife.
Well, we're going to get to talking about that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But first off, let's talk about what's your most favorite, the Dirty Swagger. How long has Dirty Swagger been a band?
13 years.
13 years.
13 years this past May. We got together. We had a friend that passed, and he was a friend with me and Thunder from high school. So we're going to get together to do a tribute song for him, and then he was working with Fury. We got together, and the next thing you know, 13 years later, here we are.
So that's the birth of the Dirty Swagger.
Yeah, it came from, I guess tragedy and a triumph or whatever. So, but yeah, 13 years ago, and we got together, jammed, and it was like, jeez. It was going to be like a one-off, and then it's the one-off that never stopped going for.
So how did you all know each other?
Thunder and I went to school together in high school. He was playing with Fury in a side project band. They were in another band, just kind of doing covers, but doing a little country rock thing. And I was in a band called The First Stone, and it was breaking up. It was just kind of, that time. And they weren't really kind of happy where they're at. I wasn't happy where I was at. And I kind of met Fury one time at some party, and we hit it off really well. And then fate just kind of brought us together. We were the only. It was perfect because in most shows you don't really have anybody, and we just kind of migrated to each other because it's a small circle there, and nobody was playing that kind of rock and roll, so we were like, let's just play it.
Well, let's talk about Muscle Shoals. Muscle Shoals is a pretty famous place for music.
It is for recording.
For recording, okay. So what's it like to actually live in Muscle Shoals, Alabama?
If you like playing in restaurants, it's fine. If you want to play in venues, they have a scene where there's a guy who's a designer, and he brings in these badges every year at UNA, and he brings in Jack White, and they do celebrity softball tournaments, but they book shows at this theater, and they charge $175 a ticket to get in to see the Rinketeers or something like that. And they like blues rock. They have festivals like WC Handy, but if it's a festival, they come out because it's free. You can go anywhere and see music, but there's no venues to go see anybody. And their claim is we're the recording capital of the world and not the live music live music capital. So there used to be a lot of venues, but really we migrated out of there to Huntsville because we were that band that we didn't fit in with, I guess, not having a harmonica player or just playing standard blues stuff, and there was no way that any chicken restaurant was going to let us play on their deck.
So the Dirty Swagger doesn't even play Muscle Shoals at all. You guys drive the hour and
it's about an hour and a half.
It's a good drive.
We're playing a record store thing in July. There's you have to find they're not typical venues. There's record stores, the setup shows that, you have to do sometime. And that's where we kind of started in Florence was we had Pegasus Records, and Pegasus used to book bands. Well, I had a trade magazine that had Pegasus listed as in stores, and I called them up to book our first CD release party, and we set up in the shop, in the middle of the store, in the middle of the day, and played. And then other bands started doing it, and they turned it into a whole thing, and then it shut down, and that kind of buried the scene. So we ended up, I remember back in late 90s, I had friends that always talked about Huntsville and the scene. You got to go to play in Huntsville, and I never had a band that was that good. And then getting to finally start off at bench warmer and having to work our way up to Copper Top. By the time we got from bench warmer to Copper Top, it we had became something that was all right. You adopted us because most of the shows was we were the baby in the basket that they just kind of took to Huntsville and just threw in a ditch. And some raccoons brought us to the bench warmer and said,
take them. There you go.
So we don't know what to do with them.
So how many albums has the Dirty Swagger put out now?
We've put out 2.
We've
been working on a 3rd one, but it's been like a whole process. The first one is Go to Hero. It came out 2009, and 2012 we did Amplifier, which is like 2 words, amplifier, and we're working on a 3rd one that's called Hometown Villain, because we never looked at ourselves as the hometown heroes. We always looked at ourselves as we're never going to be the ones that they're going to be doubting in the paper saying like, oh, look at these boys, they did good, oh, la-di-da-di-da, they went and played at the Grand Ole Opry. We'll be like, oh, look at the Dirty Swagger. I like to think of us as like the dirty little secret. So Hometown Villain, we played on it, and it's like, we made it like, we intentionally went toward a sound like what I thought muscle shows would like bluesier, rockabilly, that kind of thing that ties in with like Memphis and Nashville, that little musical triad or whatever. And I wanted to kind of like tone it back. There's acoustic stuff, so it's kind of more to get ourselves into that town so that we can be like, hey, we've been representing you for 13 years, and we're still like really not as known as bands that just pop up on like a street corner with an acoustic. So we're kind of, when it does come out, which past this COVID and getting our stuff together and everything, probably, we're recording it ourselves. We put we started our own label, Gutter Fire.
Gutter Fire?
Yeah, it's like Gutter Hero and Amplifier, and Tony Thunder come up with that. I was like, man, Gutter Fire Records, it just
Gutter
sounds
Fire
right.
Records.
So, if you're a band that has no budget and don't mind recording in a garage that's got no sound quality but sound quantity, then just, Gutter Fire Records.
Now you guys have like your live shows are a huge thing. Like people can listen to your music on Spotify and so on.
Yeah, we're on all of that.
But that's not a live show. Like
No.
you got your live show is it's a huge thing, because I mean you guys are very much a live band in my opinion. Like I can listen to your music at home, but it's not going to be the same thing. You climb on the bar, you play your instrument outside, you're into the audience, you're laying on the audience, like
It's
all of that.
I walk into a place and it's the first thing I do when I walk into a venue when I play. It's like, what can I climb on? What's going to be like? It's almost like I got a death wish, because like what better way to go than on stage? And it's like I have fallen off of like bars, trying to climb up on stools to get onto a bar, and only find out that the stool was broken and fall back on my back. And you're playing live, and it's like, what can you do? You either like, you can't just lay there and die. You got a show to finish, so you just kind of make it look like it's part of the show and strut all the way to the front of the stage on your back. It's harder to hit a moving target. It's kind of like why I ping pong around. The other guys are kind of like stuck there, So catch me if you can, but you can't. And if you can, well, buy me a drink. Sorry I knocked yours over. But yeah, we're really about, I've always thought we were a live band. Like, the songs that we've recorded, they're good to have, like, going out on a Saturday night, you pop into your player, and it's like, because I always thought we were the soundtrack to a Saturday where you're like, you've been working all week, your boss is an asshole or whatever. You got your kid, grandma's finally watching the kids, where you like finally you passed your finals. It's Saturday night, you don't have to do anything, and we're that the music that you put on, and then to come see it's party. And a little thing when we started, I thought of us more as being like a return to hardcore. And we played this show at this place, the Smokehouse, and nobody like got into it. And I just remember like going off on the crowd because there was no participation. And I realized after that, it's like, I don't think this is the direction I want to go of like being that band that's just like, you're all a bunch of jerks, man, get in the pit. And it's like, you look down, it's like the opening band's kids and their wives. And you're like, you kids ain't my shit. And these kids are like at a juice box, like it's at a pool hall, and it's like, And then you gotta like take the kids back behind the dumpster and explain some words to them. I'm like, oh. So after that, we realized that let's just be that band that's like nobody is, because everybody is like, so angry, and we're just gonna be like, look, man, if drugs, sex, and rock and roll started a trio, that would be us.
There you
go. And I don't know which one of us is the drugs, the sex, or the rock and roll, but I like to think that I'm kind of like all three of them in a weird mix, served in a dirty glass or whatever. But yeah, man, that's kind of what that we lean to.
So there was some trial and error.
It always is.
Yeah.
It used to be like in the early days, like be playing and your strap comes off and you're standing like, oh no, what do you do? And now it comes off, you're just like, just play it one-handed or whatever. Everything, you realize that doing this so long that, I mean, it's, you just have to go with it. Things are going to happen live. And I always tell people when it does, it's like, there is no way we would have pre-recorded this to sound this god-awful. This is definitely live. It happened. So, I mean, that's what we are. We're definitely...
So where are, do you have a memory of one of your favorite live shows? When you just put on the most fabulous performance and the whole audience was there participating?
There's been a lot. We had a point where we kind of like did a little breakup for a minute. We just, bands do that thing, and we realized that we had to, I mean, you start thinking, okay, well, I'm never going to be able to like play these songs again the same way. I can get other members, but I can't play them the same way with these guys. You mend that stuff where that stuff becomes bigger than like your individual selves. So we got back together, and the first show after that, we were playing for this band that came in from Australia. We were playing in Sheffield, and they're called Bug Girl, brother and sister act, and like, they're from Australia, and like they represent, like these people have like played on Looney's Rig, like they had a video, and I'm like, oh, and like they came in and just scorched it. It was one of those things where you make lifelong friends out of them. Like the next time they come to town, they're staying at your house, and then there's Scary Cherry and the Bang Bangs when they came in from Dallas, and we made friends. That was another one we gotta impress them, like shows like that. But the Invisible Fest, the one that posed the first one, that one was really good. There's really they're unique in their own way because there's so many different bands. Whether it's like if you get to play with a new band, you get to discover like new stuff. Like when we got to play with COVID. It's good to see like the new blood coming out there, but then it's just as much as like we just got through playing with the Friendly Fingerman and Casket Kids. It's good because
you
get
see
to play with your old friends
and
make new friends, and that's what's been really cool about all of it. So really, it's just every show is that way because it's all a party. And it's with the best people.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So how do you feel at the end of the show? Are you just like totally wrecked from taking your clothes off and jumping on everything and climbing off of everything? Do you have to drive back to shows?
It's a feeling where like if they could put it into a pill, I would probably people would overdose on it. But there's a thing of like, if you've ever been in the back of a van at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to take leather pants off of you that have shrunk because you're sweating so bad, and it's like Harry Houdini if he was like, I don't know, in the Stooges, and just hoping that nobody passes by and just looks in and tries to figure out what's going on. It's like a one-man wrestling match. But
my goodness.
I mean, it's the thing of where I can only imagine, like, going back, like, I think of like the Incredible Hulk and like those from the 80s, like in the TV show where he's just a dude and everybody's pushing him around. It's like, and that's your weight. The weight pushes you around, and then finally, like, that amp switches on, and you're like, something about that feedback that comes on. It switches Brad Osborn into like Blade Almighty, and then like one just disappears and goes away, and then that Blade side comes in, and it's like it's like the Hulk. So like you're just tossing bodies around for the whole night, and then like I guess the come down is what I'd be like when the Hulk's back and he's like at the hotel room and his clothes are shredded. Like he's going, I think I just killed the man. Oh no, I could have just killed the man. I just threw a guy through like a concrete wall through there. It's like, oh, I gotta get my stuff in my duffel bag and hitchhike on down to the next episode, and that's us with each show. Like just like, and afterwards you're just like, oh my God, what? Sunday morning, it's like you put on Sunday morning coming down because you're like, my God, what did I do last night? If you don't feel like death on Sunday morning, then you did not have a Saturday.
You did not do Saturday right.
And then driving home isn't so bad because you get used to it. Like you just, I mean, we're just troubadours kind of in a way. That's like you get used to when you've been doing the drive. But I will say one time on the way back through, my band won't ride with me, and we were coming back, and I kind of fell asleep driving. And if it wasn't for like Fury grabbing the steering wheel and putting us back on the road, we probably could have been like squirrel food. But I mean, God's a rock and roll. There's a story. Jacob he filled in with guitar when I had my arm messed up. Jacob filled in on guitar, Stammers from Boozy and Slewfoot. He came in, I went to pick him up, and like he acts like I couldn't like drive or whatever, but it's like I just remember saying, don't worry about it, man, the gods of rock and roll, they got you. So there's times I'll be driving home and like I might wake up and I'm not in the same lane that I started with, but halfway between here and Muscle Shoals, there's Rogersville, and it has a Shell station that if you go there at 2 o'clock in the morning with breakfast biscuits is enough that wakes you up. If you make it to that gas station, you'll be all right to make it the rest of the way home because you can't die with the taste of heavenly bacon in your mouth.
There you go. I'll remember that next time I go up there.
Just look for it, you'll know.
Well, it's only one.
It's that one Shell station.
One Shell station. So tell us about Baby's Got a Knife.
Oh, Baby's Got a Knife.
Your next, this is a new project.
Yeah, we've it's formerly Bad Susan.
I remember Bad Susan. Yeah.
It's Megan and Heather and Jay from them, and like Jerry and Jay from Corporate Sponsored Uprising.
There's a lot of people in this county.
It is Megan Tarrant. There's Heather LeDuc. There is a brother-sister combo of Kayla White McPherson and Cameron White and Jerry Lavoie, and then there's also Jay. There's Jay Terry.
Right, who's drums.
Who's drums.
Right.
And then there's me. So there's
seven people in Baby's Got a Knife.
It's like, I mean, it's a sound man's just nightmare because and all of us sing. It's kind of, we jammed, when Bad Susan like disbanded, we started a little project called Film, and it was kind of like a rebound band for them, and it kind of wasn't the right time. It was kind of just rehashing some of that stuff, and we went away. About 2 years later, Megan wanted to start another band. She was trying to like figure out what to do, and Heather and her were like, Megan and Heather and I, Johnny the Black Frames, did Keep the Fire Alive on their record.
Right.
Like when they invited all these people up.
Right.
Us three went up and recorded our vocals together in their vocal tent. Like, it was like a little fort that they had set up. And I've always loved their voice. And they had a friend, Kayla, who, they wanted her in the band and they were going to put her on drums. But she couldn't, as she said, like, I can't get my feet and my legs to work. And Jerry's like, well, darling, that's drumming. So we're like, okay, we'll move to keyboards. And like, chink, 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 chink. Okay, we'll bring her brother in to teach her keyboards. Her brother's good. Let's put him on keyboard. So what are we going to do with her? We'll put her a singer. 3 singers, whatever. So, like,
I'm picturing 3 girls.
it's like 3 girls, and think of like the Supremes.
That's what I was just thinking about.
Supreme, like so you get them up there, and then we finally realized the keyboard player, her brother Cameron, forgot his keyboard one time, so we're like, we'll just put him on rhythm guitar, and it filled the sound up so much that it was like, okay, we don't need keys. He's got like effects that he can do a key thing with his guitar, so we do like a 2 guitar attack thing, and it just, Jay came back into the fold, he went into drums, and Heather went away for a while to work on some stuff like with her family, and while she did that, Kayla got to step up and like go from being a backup singer like work on her pipes some more. So now that Heather's back, we've got 3 singers, and they all sound different. Like one's got grit, one's got like just pizzazz, and one's just got that pop sound. So we can cover all of them. And it's and me, Jerry and I, we do backing vocals with them. They do a lot of backing. It's a lot of the hay stuff, and it's a lot of just the, you know, putting it in. It's like the Mamas and the Papas, and maybe the Stooges and the Ramones. It's just a whole lot of stuff. Fleetwood Mac. You know, it's going with that stuff where you have like, and there's a song with like Megan and I, like she'll do a verse, I do a verse. So we're just trying to. We're in our infancy. We're in phase 1, but we just played a couple of weeks ago the Casket Kids when they show, at
Maggie Myers.
In JT's retirement, and it was like Shattered Monsters, Friendly Fingerman, and the Casket Kids, and we were able to hold that crowd because it was like it's not when you think of like just the. I wanted to be like because I love the girl groups of like Supremes, the Ronettes, you know, so kind of doing Ronnie Spector kind of thing, and you know, or like the, you know, just the Diana Ross with the Supremes. So, but you know, but have like this band that's backing them up. That's just like, look, if I wasn't in the band and if I was just in the back and they started playing, I'd come to the front. It's another project that's like really bouncy, and it's like it's not anything but there's just a really good time. You know,
and do you let the girls have like more of the forefront? Like
it's more.
You are a front man.
The first year I got a little. My goal is to like go back because I kind of like, you know, I wouldn't be the. It's like when Hendrix played with Little Richard. You know, he kind of did that thing where he'd get fined for it, but you know, he'd do that little showboating thing. And I mean, if it's a guitar solo, I cut out in the middle of them. It's kind of like when you're in. I don't want to sound like it's too big, but like we've been like the status of like the Swagger, where you kind of worked your way up into that band, like, and you're in another band. It would be like if Slash, when he did like the thing with Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators, like you would want him to come out because you know he's Slash when it's his part to come up on stage and be like that center point because everybody knows who you are and do a little thing and you know go back to the back. But most of it's about. I want it to be about them. You know, we're kind of backing it up. You know, we're just like the sonic force, that wall of sound behind them, but they're the ones that are
the forefront.
That's what it's
very
about.
start and beginning. Is there anywhere to hear them? You guys haven't recorded.
We haven't recorded yet. If you go to Facebook, you can find Baby's Got a Knife. Like, look us up. We live streamed our show. So the whole show is on there. Like, I mean, it's probably the first thing on there. It's 30 minutes. I mean, we were in and out because we just built.
Did you do any covers during those 30 minutes?
We do the Interrupters. I Gave You Everything, and we do Sugar High. And we're working on like new stuff. We're kind of like everybody.
Like sugar, like the watermelon sugar.
What is from Empire Records?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's like we're working on other stuff. Like that was like the one that they had brought in that like I just kind of learned when we were doing that when it was still film. And so now everybody's at that point of like we're trying to write more songs. We've got 4. We wrote a new song last night. We learned a new cover last night. I'm just gonna say that I was so, like just hearing it. It seemed like a weird concept of this cover that we picked. But hearing it last night, I can't wait to unleash it. I'm just going to say, it's so fine, it'll blow your mind. And that's all I'm going to say about this cover that we're working on, that it's like, I mean, there's about to be a party if you come to a Baby's Got a Knife show.
Do you guys have any shows that are lined up?
We have one, it is August 27th. I think, there's a lot of shows coming up. I want to say it's, August 27th, and it's at Carver Shop, and I can't remember.
That's okay. What about Dirty Swagger? Do you have any Dirty Swagger shows coming up?
July 17th at New Wave Vinyl in Muscle Shows.
Good.
It's record store day. So we are playing for Record Store Day, and it is outside on a busy street, and I'm already planning what I'm sure it's going to lead to me doing guitar solo in the middle of traffic. So if you want to see a guy in leather pants possibly like end up getting plowed down by a Ford Tacoma,
Cone muscle.
I mean it's free. And then we're playing. I think we're playing like I know we're playing in August, like the same show with Baby's Got a Knife. It's you can find like just go to the Dirty Swagger page on like Facebook and it's there, and or you can go to Baby's Got a Knife. But you know it's just listen. Wherever you hear the sound of like you sound like a metal garbage can full of instruments rolling down like an alley, then you know you came to the right show. That's just you'll hear us coming.
And you can always see you guys coming too.
Yeah,
I know at Copper Top it always be like, ah, Dirty Swagger's here, I see you. Here they come.
It's weird. It's just like some places like they'll let you know like, hey, we're not, like, I remember the first time playing Maggie's, I got pulled off of the railing because like, hey, we ain't the Copper Top over here, and now they're all like,
I don't care.
I mean,
We ain't the
what
Copper
you do,
Top.
you know. So I mean, it's all good. I mean, I think people know they know what they're getting into. It's because in Florence, like when we played, we had a little theater down there at the end. It had these little beams that went across the ceiling, and you could jump up on your amp and monkey bar. So I would monkey bar like doing songs like right into the middle of the crowd and hang down with one arm and like do a guitar solo in the middle of them and then throw yourself back up and hang upside down from them and play guitar solos. Is just like, I mean, music is one thing, but it's like if you're sitting at home, you're listening. That's one thing. That's what's good for the records. But like to go to a show, I want it to be just like right there. Yeah.
So what was Blade Osborn like in high school? What were you like in your high school? Because this is the bro man. He's hanging off monkey bars, playing guitars. What were you like as a kid? What were you like in high school?
It was a lot of the same. Like at elementary school, like here's the thing. Like as a kid, I don't remember anything like, and I'm proud of this because I thought it would be like relevant. Check this out. I want to show like how real deal this is. Like this is 5-year-old little Brad Osborn.
Oh my!
That is Peter, like behind a drumstick, behind a drum kit, like Peter christened it because I wanted to be in Kiss. Like my walls when I was like, I know 5 was like.
So you have absolutely always wanted to be a musician.
I mean, it seemed like that was was the thing to do because like Kiss like was the thing. Like I asked my mom how I ended up with Kiss posters and she had no idea. She was just like, I don't know. And I know I was 5 because Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park came on, and I wanted to see it. My dad went to one of his friends' houses, and I didn't get to see it. But while I was at his house, we walked through a room, and it was on the TV, so I got to see like a little snippet of it. And so, I mean, it just like really intrigued me. And like I said, I want to be a drummer. But one night, my grandmother was like going to this church thing. I wasn't feeling good. I know I was about 6 because in first grade, I remember we couldn't wear anything Kiss. Like it was like one of those things where I had a friend that had a Kiss shirt that he wore under a shirt that he'd like unbutton. I was like, oh man, you're cool. But like there was a thing of like, oh well, I didn't want to go, but she's like, you're gonna play Kiss, so I went.
Well, of course.
And they gave me the whole Knights in Satan service thing. So,
at church.
Yeah, it was like, you know, it was a thing on like how to teach, you know, to get your kids away from like rock and roll. They played another brick in the wall, and it's like, hey, it's against education, and they did the whole thing with like.
Okay, so no, I need to know about this. So you went to a church.
I went to my grandma's. I'm 6.
Okay.
So all I know is that I love Kiss, and you're playing Kiss. I'm there. I'm 6.
Right.
But it's Kiss, man, right? So. And I don't know what Kiss song they played, but they gave.
But the purpose of this
the purpose of it was to like get your parent. You know, it was remember like the PMR.
It was for the parents to get the kids
to
stop listening to this music.
And you bring the kids and tell them why they can't, like why they shouldn't. You know, all this.
You know, I don't know any of this.
Well, yeah, like there's a whole thing that started. Again, it was in the '80s. They were doing like the satanic panic of all these bands that were like causing kids to go to the devil. But they came out and made the Knights in Satan's Service is what KISS stood for. So that scared a little 6-year-old kid and been like, oh, I don't
want to be in Satan's Service.
I don't want to be what is he going to use me for? I'm 6. It's probably not good work.
Right.
They'll be like, oh, great, I got to sharpen his pencils. That's the only skill I got. I'm 6, man. Come on.
Right.
But so I got rid of all my KISS stuff. And
so your grandma took you to this thing in the church.
And it changed me from being and I was just this quiet little kid, and that's all I had. And then it became I guess, Star Wars. I always said if there's a chapter 1 of my autobiography, which would be called Something Stupid This Way Comes. But if there was a chapter 1, it'd be called I Was Born a Baby. But chapter 2 would be called Star Wars and KISS, because that's what I got out of that. Went into, I guess, like a Star Wars phase, or because
because you couldn't listen to KISS anymore because you didn't want to be in
because I didn't want to be in Satan's Service sharpening his pencils. But then I got into I discovered Run DMC. I spent some time, I'm not gonna lie, as a b-boy. I have break danced at a skating rink in a circle and held my own in parachute pants, which kids are not a substitute for a parachute. Found out the hard way. Long story, but it's just a couple of stitches. But yeah, I went through that phase because there was no rock and roll. And then I remember when I was 10, my sister brought home Bark at the Moon. And I was like, what is this? Like Ozzy Osbourne's Bark at the Moon. And I'm like, this is dumb. Because I was all like, wicky, y'all. And then, I got my hat, got one blue shoe, got one red shoe. Like, man, I'm tagging up the stuff, like, whatever. And then, so I was like, what's this? And then she puts it on and, hits play. And the opening of it is Bark at the Moon. He doesn't waste any of your time. He's not like, I'm going to give you one song and let you get cozy. I'm stretch out here a little bit. Pour my tea, all right. Okay, I'm ready. Got through that song. Then Bark at the Moon. It's like from the get-go, you're like, what the hell is this? And then from there, I was like, okay. I leaned toward that Aussie thing. And then I revisited, when I was 13, the whole b-boy breakdancing thing went away. The whole Michael Jackson era of it faded, and then rock radio started to come back. You had Bon Jovi, Whitesnake, Poison, Guns N' Roses. So that when Guns N' Roses they were the exclamation. I know exactly. Yes. I was sitting. I had to be 14. I was sitting next to my dad in a blue Plymouth Reliant at a stop sign in Tuscumbia, Alabama, the first time I heard Guns N' Roses, because it was a radio commercial for the Girls tours at the Von Braun, and it goes, with special guests, Guns N' Roses, welcome to the jungle. I was like, what? My ass went what? And I went literally. And from that point, it's I guess, I went to being 12, 13, and, into Aussie. I got back into rock. I got back, I went through the Aussie thing where it was going back into, getting into that. And then when I was 15, somewhere between my freshman year and sophomore year, we met this guy that moved in with us for a while with my family. And he had this cassette case that had Rain and Blood and Never Mind the Bollocks and all this stuff, And I discovered Slayer and Sex Pistols, all this stuff, and punk and all the good stuff. And I had went for years of being I was a quiet kid. I just minded my own business, but I got bullied a lot. And I'm kind of like that story of there was the people that just you spend your whole years of just not wanting to go to school. Because you're the quiet kid that just thinks that after that was freshman year. That summer year between that, or that summer between 9th grade and 10th grade, when I discovered Slayer and all that, and the Sex Pistols. This guy came back with long hair. He had this shirt that said Blade across the back, and it was because it was a name I took from Brad and Blade. It's kind of it rolls off the tongue. But it became this whole different thing of that guy that in 9th grade you thought you could get away with. I dare you that 10th grade guy was
I'm injected with Slayer.
I'm it's Slayer. I'm walking in with a spill of blood shirt because there wasn't a dress code thing. I've got the Misfit shirt where it's like the eyeball hanging out and whatever. And it was like a totally different guy. Like I discovered leading up to one of my friends that had passed, Daryl. We had got through his cousin. We had got into Motorhead, and Motorhead was a game changer. And AC/DC, like the early, before Brian Johnson, it was like the Bond era, like Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, and that was it. I had like an acoustic, and from that point, it's like backpedal to. I wanted to be a drummer originally. I wanted to be a guitar at like in '87, like 14. Ozzy Osbourne put out the tribute record to Randy Rhoads, like the 5-year passing of his like death. And when that came out, after that it was like guitar. I mean, I can't play like that, but from there I got like this acoustic. It was learning Dirty Deeds on like one string, and then like met my buddy Daryl and a bunch of high school friends at like 16. Like my 16th birthday party, I had my first band practice with like all my friends together. We all had our instruments. One problem. Nobody knew how to play their instruments, and you know who doesn't like nobody playing their instruments correctly? Neighbors in a subdivision. So within 5 minutes, a bang, 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 bang. I don't know what's going on in here, but the neighbors don't like it. That band broke up.
What was the name of that band?
Dark Image. IMIJ, and I got the tattoo. Like if I'm standing around in line, there's always somebody behind me, like trying to.
Oh, that's what's on the back of your neck.
Because I wanted to keep it near me, but I want to keep it behind me at the same time. And it's spelled IMIJ because it was the '80s and everybody misspelled everything back then. But you'll see people behind me trying to figure out what it says, like in grocery stores. And I have to be like, yeah, Dark Image. But like Thunder. When that lineup changed, like it fizzled out. Thunder and I were in high school together, and he had a guitar, I had a guitar, and it was like, you got a guitar, I got a guitar, let's start a band. That's how you did it in high school. And he knew the chord stuff. I was really just working more on lead stuff. And we got together with some guys, made our first demo out of high school. I wanted like that thing of Slayer, and it was really two covers. It was not two covers. It was 2 ballady songs and like 1 heavy song, so they didn't really match up, but it was like we were in the studio. I remember like the guy was like, warming up to restart recording, it's like, just play something. I'm like, what do you want me to play? It's like, just play a C. I'm like, my job was just to go in and go, weedle, just step back. But Thunder, like in those sessions, he was in Dark Image and he was the rhythm guitar player. And then that dissipated, and later on, we ended up hooking back up with like the Dirty Swagger. But high school me was like Metallica. It was pretty much who I am now. It was the starting. I didn't really. I mean, like I said,
so freshman year you were this kid that was
it was the kid
picked
that
on,
was like I like metal and rock, but I was really just. It was still a lot of you just I was quiet. I would get the richer kids or whatever, like the little preppy kids, and then you never know, and it's just there's different people that come at you, like maybe it's the jocks or whatever, and then it would just it's from all kinds of sides, and then post that when it became like Blade, and it was like this whole other side of just like. I had to live that name where it's just be like if I mess with somebody, it would be like because it was no zero like tolerance thing right there. You bring a knife and be like pull a knife out and just kind of like just deep enough to make blood and be like if I did that to me, what do you think I would do to you? And nobody's going to want to fight you when you're the crazy guy, especially the crazy guy in the Slayer shirt because. They're all in the back of the yearbook. Like those advertisements, like they put in the back of the yearbook. There's always like the 3rd Avenue Church or something, and the youth group is always there, and it's always those people that are in the hallway trying to give you some slack. And then like, what are they taught? They're taught to like fear the evil. So what do? You become their fear. And like, if I had a problem with somebody, it was nothing for me to draw a picture of a Grim Reaper standing next to an open grave with their like name on the tombstone and slip it in their locker.
Oh, okay.
Look, I was 15, 16.
Right,
I mean,
and empowered by the music.
It's Slayer. I didn't ever blame it on Slayer. I mean, and the Dark Image came from Slayer. That's how I started my first band because there was an interview where they asked if they worshiped the devil, and they said they just had a dark image. So. And we had that band originally had like it got shot down quick by the girls we were dating, their parents at the time. We found out the slogan was, "We don't worship the devil, he worships us."
Oh.
But you know, I mean, we were 15. It was
Yeah, when you're 15, that's the kind of stuff that's cool.
And then as you progress to like, you know, you go through band to band to band, you pick up like different things and progress. But yeah, I think like 15, 16-year-old me is still the same guy because he still like loves music. It's still going to shows is like the greatest thing in the world, and like bands
and participating in shows
and doing it like getting to play. Because like if somebody like 16-year-old me who was playing notes on one string, if I was able to go back and be like, dude, you did it. Like when everybody was like playing football and they were the jocks, and like when football was over and school was over, they either joined. They became insurance salesmen, or they got a car dealership or whatever. They didn't keep doing what they did. And that guy who was like 16 was like sitting in a room watching videos of like Ozzy Osborn and taking notes and like watching all these different music videos. And like Jackie Lee moves his head like that, or like, you know, James Hetfield does this, and like really studying the game the way they study the game. It's like I put it in to know that all of that paid off. Like in the end, that I'm getting to do it and still doing it. Like that guy who like always heard about Huntsville, like, you know, like one day, and then you get to be a part of it in a way that you walk into places and that
everybody knows there's Blade Osborn.
To walk into a place and your music is playing, or walk in and it's like you can't even get in the door because they're already like, you know, they're there to greet you, and it's just to look over and there's somebody you've never seen before wearing a T-shirt that's got your picture on it. It's like it's good to know that all of this, because it all paid off. And look, I want to tell you right now, if you're out there and you're being bullied by anybody, like you want to, like if you're in high school's 4 years. Those people are going to move on and they're going to be miserable. What you do during this time is you play. You pick up a guitar, man. You pick up a microphone. You pick up a bass. You pick up a drumstick, and you belt it out. And sooner or later, you take all of that and you channel it into like something positive. Because all those people that picked on me, I put that in like riffs. I put that in vocals, and I channeled it. And now, like it's like I'm pretty sure all the bullies. Like, if I walked in on your wife, I'd probably drug her and not have her a dirty swagger. So the only thing you do about it is get an Uber home. So, like, the etiquette like that, look, get a band and take the girlfriend to the prom, man. That's all it is.
So I've been doing this thing at the end where if you had 5 words to describe Brad Blade Osborn to the people of the world, what 5 words would you choose?
I'm going to have to say, excuse me, Dad, for this. If you're watching, you're probably not. If you are, turn down your hearing aids, because I'm pretty sure the 5 words would be rock and roll motherfucker.
There we go. Rock and roll motherfucker. Yeah. Well, this has been DIY Live at the Fred Shop with Brad Blade Osborn. Thank you for being here. Thanks for talking with us. Thanks for giving us, you know, the history and all things of you and your bands.
What a long, strange ass trip it's been.
Right? And y'all get your butts out to shows. Come see Baby's Got a Knife and the Dirty Swagger. Thank you very much. See you next time. Sorry about the